Have you ever felt as though you were living a life scripted by someone else, repeating the same day over and over, yet never truly moving closer to what you seek? We are not alone in that feeling. Many cross into the new year with hopes of transformation, only to watch those hopes slip through their fingers like sand. It is not weakness that holds them back, but the absence of a steadfast set of values to anchor them. 2025 does not require fireworks or hollow promises to begin. It demands a clear and conscious realization we can master ourselves. And Stoicism, a philosophy born over 2,000 years ago, offers the compass we need to break free from the cycle of futility and to reshape a life of resilience, sovereignty, and meaning. Today, we will explore 10 Stoic principles, not to memorize, but to embody. Each principle serves as a reminder. Life need not be easy, but it can always be profound and worthy of living. 1. Absolute responsibility. Freedom begins when we stop blaming. To take absolute responsibility for one's life is a foundational principle, not only of Stoicism, but of all lasting change. This is no hollow slogan. It is a fierce call to action, demanding that we scrutinize how we live, how we respond, and most critically, how we choose. In a world where blaming others, parents, circumstances, society, has become a reflex, claiming full ownership of one's life is a revolutionary act. Yet the Stoic does not seek to change the outer world before mastering the inner one. They understand the only thing truly within our control is our attitude and our actions. When Marcus Aurelius, an emperor cloaked in immense power, wrote in his private meditations that you have power over your mind, not outside events, he was not speaking from a place of ease or comfort. He spoke amidst war, betrayal, loss, and crushing pressure. Yet rather than faulting circumstance, he turned inward, to the only realm he could command, and that spirit anchors this principle. Taking absolute responsibility does not mean everything that happens is your fault. It means that no matter what happens, you alone decide how you will respond. You cannot control the weather, but you can choose whether to carry a cloak. You cannot prevent betrayal, but you can choose to let go and move forward without bitterness governing your soul. The Stoic does not allow injustice, pain, or adversity to become excuses for inaction. They forge these hardships into the steel of resilience. When we fully embrace the mindset, I am completely responsible for my life, the first thing that changes is not the world. It is our sense of agency. Instead of feeling swept along by events, we become active makers of our path. This feeling is not a delusion of power, but an awakening. Each choice, no matter how small, bears weight and significance. Absolute responsibility also liberates us from the trap of a delay and complaint. Those who constantly blame external forces easily fall into paralysis. There is nothing I can do. But once you realize that your response is yours alone, the path forward begins to open. The Stoic chooses action over complaint. They choose progress over blame. Another, often overlooked gift of responsibility is the rebuilding of self-respect. When you live as though you are at the helm of your own ship, even against headwinds, even after past mistakes, you'll begin to recognize your own worth, because you are no longer living as a victim, but as a creator of outcomes. Absolute responsibility demands that we face the truth, without excuses, without shifting blame. And sometimes that is the hardest thing. Yet it is only by standing face to face with naked reality that we can begin to change. The Stoic does not deny failure. They learn from it. They do not numb themselves to pain. They allow it to teach them where growth is needed. This is not cruelty toward oneself, but honesty is the cornerstone of growth. In sum, this first principle is not merely the starting point of a change. It is the foundation. Every principle that follows will be meaningless if we cling to blame and refuse to own our lives. But once we accept that we alone are responsible for our existence, we are no longer shackled by circumstance. Instead, we begin to live deliberately, with clarity, strength, and a freedom rooted deep within. This is Stoicism, alive and breathing in the midst of everyday life. 2. Write down your goals with clarity and responsibility. Writing down your goals is not a mere formality. It is a profound shift in mindset and personal accountability. In Stoic thought, clarity and action are inseparable. We do not live to drift in vagueness. We live to act with purpose, guided by reason, and setting specific goals, then writing them down, is how we begin that journey. A goal left unwritten remains little more than a wish, easily distracted, easily altered, easily forgotten. But when a person takes up the pen and commits their true aim to paper, it is not mere notation. It is a declaration, a commitment. In writing, we are forced to become clear. What do I seek? Why do I seek it? And what am I willing to sacrifice to achieve it? Writing down our goals frees us from the fog of ambiguity, a common state where people claim they want to be successful, wealthy, or happy, without ever defining what those words truly mean. Stoics revere clarity. They refuse to live in illusions or cling to empty hopes. They act based on what can be understood and achieved. To write goals in specific, measurable language, set against clear timelines, is to anchor thought in practicality, not idle dreaming. Moreover, writing goals restructures our value system. When we put into words what we truly seek, the trivial begins to fall away. It allows us to prioritize what matters most and to spend our time and energy wisely. To the Stoic, time is a sacred asset, and crafting clear goals ensures we do not squander it on what is meaningless. A cornerstone of Stoic practice is personal accountability, and writing goals strengthens this. Once something is written, it becomes undeniable. No excuses, no escape. A written goal stands as a contract, confronting us daily. Are you moving closer to it or farther away? But it does not end with a single act of writing. A true Stoic revisits and recalibrates their goals continually. They understand that life is ever-changing, and blind stubbornness is no sign of strength. True strength lies in adapting wisely without losing one's direction. Write, then review, reflect, and adjust. This cycle keeps us aligned with reason, not adrift in fleeting emotions or shifting tides. Writing down goals also enables the critical practice of breaking them into actionable steps, the bridge between vision and reality. The Stoic does not seek ease, nor do they act blindly. They trust in the power of right action, small, repeated faithfully. Setting a goal, then dividing it into clear steps, sustains momentum and tracks true progress. Equally important, this act forges willpower and resilience. When a person reads their goals daily, not merely with their eyes, but with their mind, they program themselves with unwearying purpose. They are not scattered by trivialities because they know what lies ahead. In essence, writing down goals is not a technique for attracting something into your life. It is a discipline of thought, a return to the self, a call to act with intention rather than drift in surrender. It is a tool the Stoics use not to fantasize about the future, but to take responsible action in the present and step by step to build a life of meaning, direction, and no regrets. 3. Discipline is freedom. Discipline today, freedom tomorrow. Discipline is often misunderstood as a form of constraint, a rigid force stripping away freedom and the joy of living. Yet through the Stoic lens, the opposite is true. Discipline is the very path to real freedom, not the freedom to do whatever one wishes, but the freedom from that which weakens the soul. Impulses, temptations, and the slow erosion of procrastination. In Stoic thought, discipline is not punishment. It is a tool for training the mind. It is the power to say no to the momentary lure, in order to say yes to what truly matters. When a person can govern their behavior regardless of emotional surges or external pressures, they cease to be slaves to instinct. They become sovereign over themselves, and that is the highest expression of freedom. Discipline also ensures consistency between action and value. In the modern world, where distraction is a fingertip away, maintaining a chain of positive actions is no small feat. But those who live by the Stoic spirit understand every act is an affirmation of the person we are becoming. If values are the compass, then discipline is the vessel that keeps us steady through life's tempests. Practicing discipline does not demand immediate, grand transformations. The Stoic begins with the small, doing what must be done even without inspiration. They do not wait for positive emotions to act. They act to cultivate positive emotions by completing simple tasks, rising on time, finishing duties despite fatigue, keeping promises made to themselves. They accumulate inner strength, steadily building a resilient will. Discipline is also the key to breaking the cycle of procrastination. When one procrastinates, it is not just progress that is delayed. It is self-trust that is eroded. Conversely, sustaining even the smallest positive habit sends a profound inner message. I am trustworthy. I can steer my own life. And belief in oneself is the bedrock of all effective action. In Stoic philosophy, discipline is the means to live with intent, rather than drifting with emotions or circumstance. The undisciplined are easily swayed by short-term pleasures, instant entertainment, fleeting comfort, the path of least resistance. But the disciplined choose what is right over what is easy. They know that fleeting comfort can never rival the deep satisfaction of meaningful achievement. More importantly, discipline safeguards our commitments, not just to others, but to ourselves. A Stoic honors their inner promise. When a goal is set, discipline becomes the bridge that carries them across the fields of doubt, fatigue, and temptation. Not every day will be filled with motivation, but every day can be a day of progress if discipline stands as the foundation. Moreover, discipline brings stability to the mind. When we know we can rely on ourselves, there is peace even amidst chaos. The mind is no longer torn between what should be done and what feels good now. Clarity emerges because discipline has established a system of action guided by reason, not emotion. In sum, from the Stoic view, discipline is not an external force imposed upon us, but a voluntary choice to live according to reason and core values. It is a long road, unglamorous, but enduring. And along that journey, every victory over the self is a step toward true freedom from being ruled by habit, circumstance, or fleeting emotion. That freedom cannot be granted by another, nor can it be taken away, for it is forged from within. 4. Perseverance, even when no one is watching. On the path of living stoically, perseverance is not optional. It is a core virtue. It is the ability to keep doing what is right, even when no one acknowledges it, no one is watching, and no praise awaits. It is consistency in action, untouched by external circumstances or fleeting emotions. The Stoic understands that true success is not born from a single, explosive moment, but from thousands of right choices made quietly and repeatedly. They have no need for spotlights or applause. What matters is not what others see, but that they themselves know they are living in accordance with their values. And to do so demands a perseverance as duide as stiefont, unshaken by the absence of witnesses or immediate results. Perseverance is not stubbornness. In Stoic philosophy, it is not the clinging to a mistaken path, but the steadfast commitment to right action. Actions rooted in reason, not impulse. A Stoic may adjust their methods or alter their strategies, but they do not lose sight of their purpose. Fatigue, procrastination, or uncertainty cannot erode their direction. Perseverance reveals itself most clearly when things go wrong, when inspiration dries up, when results remain distant, and when others begin to doubt. That is when those without firm foundations give up easily. But the Stoic is different. They know the worth of an action lies not in the recognition it receives, but in its fidelity to truth. They do what is right, not because it is seen, but because it is right. In daily practice, perseverance is expressed through small, seemingly insignificant acts, maintaining good habits even when immediate results are invisible, sustaining kindness even when it goes unreturned, finishing tasks carefully even when no one is checking. Each of these actions is how a Stoic builds dignity, a quality that cannot be bought, gifted, or faked, but only forged through steady perseverance. Perseverance also shields us against emotional impulsiveness. Those ruled by moods easily abandon their resolutions, easily quit halfway. But those who cultivate perseverance continue moving forward, even when the mind is tired or doubtful, for they act not based on momentary emotions, but on principles carefully reasoned beforehand. The Stoic knows that great results do not spring from inspiration. They are the fruit of a system, and a system only yields its power through steady, persistent operation. They do not seek joy from immediate victories, but from the steady assurance that they are on the right path, step by step, day by day. They believe lasting change is not built through grand gestures, but through the long repetition of right action. Practicing perseverance is, at its heart, the training of inner strength. Every time one overcomes procrastination, every time one persists without visible reward, it deepens their trust in themselves. They know that even if results are slow, they are advancing, and that knowledge is enough to keep going. In sum, perseverance in the Stoic sense is not glamorous. It is quiet, steady, yet immensely powerful. It demands the courage to keep moving forward without being seen, praised, or recognized. And in that silence, true human dignity is formed, durable, genuine, and unshakable. 5. Time is the greatest asset. Lost time is life that cannot be reclaimed. In Stoic philosophy, time is not merely a measure. It is the most precious asset a person possesses, more valuable than wealth, status, or power, because while these other things can be lost and returned, once time has passed, it can never return. Every moment lost is a piece of life, irretrievably gone. And for this reason, the Stoic holds that mindful use of time is central to living a life of meaning. One of the most profound observations by the ancient Stoics is that people are often cautious with their money, yet squander their time without a second thought. They create financial plans and safeguard their possessions, yet allow their one irreplaceable asset, time, to slip away unnoticed. The Stoic refuses to let this happen. They are keenly aware that every minute lost is life consumed, and that nothing can buy it back. Thus, managing time in the Stoic sense is not merely about efficient scheduling, but about living with presence, with deliberate choice in every moment. The Stoic constantly asks, "Is this worthy of my time?" A simple yet potent question that filters out what truly matters from what merely masquerades as important. They do not seek to cram more tasks into the day, but to focus on what holds the deepest meaning. This demands the power to say no, to decline distractions, time-wasting habits, and draining relationships. For every yes to what is trivial is a no to what is vital. In a world overflowing with options, the one who cannot say no will lose command of their own time. Stoic thought also emphasizes the impermanence of life, that we do not know how much time remains ahead. Awareness of mortality is not meant to induce fear, but to inspire us to live fully today, without deferring what matters. Do not wait for the right time or for perfect conditions. Act now, for the present is the only certainty we possess. Another crucial aspect of using time wisely in the Stoic spirit is avoiding the waste of mental energy, refusing to let the mind drown in anxieties about the future or regrets about the past. What is gone cannot be changed. What is yet to come may never arrive. Thus, the Stoic disciplines their attention to return again and again to the present, the only arena where action is possible. They refuse to invest their mind in what lies beyond control, choosing instead to focus their energy on what can be shaped now. Time also defines the priorities of life. When one understands time is finite, they realize they cannot do everything. They begin to select what truly reflects their values. They abandon the cult of busyness to pursue depth. They are not obsessed with how many tasks are completed, but with the quality and significance of what is done. In sum, Stoicism views time as a test of wisdom. How one uses time reveals what one truly values. To live stoically is to refuse to let time pass unnoticed. It is to live with choice, with mindfulness, and with reverence, so that every moment is not merely time gone by, but life fully lived. 6. Choose your companions wisely. You become who you are with. Human beings do not exist in isolation. Whether we wish it or not, we are shaped by those around us, in our thinking, daily habits, and life decisions. Thus, in Stoic philosophy, choosing companions is not seen as casual or incidental, but as a decision that directly shapes the quality of one's life and the integrity of one's character. The Stoic recognizes relationships as powerful forces in the formation of virtue. The spiritual environment we are immersed in, be it friends, colleagues, or family, can either elevate our character or drag us into stagnation. Therefore, being mindful of who we walk beside is a mark of wisdom and self-respect. One of the principles highly regarded by the Stoics is to avoid the company of those who poison the mind, those who constantly complain, sow negativity, live without principle, or harbor anger and envy, can erode another's inner clarity. Even if unnoticed at first, continuous exposure to such energy gradually dulls the spirit, weakens critical thought, and blurs the boundaries of our core values. Conversely, when surrounded by those who live with responsibility, reason, and moral firmness, it becomes easier to maintain discipline and focus on what is right. The presence of virtuous companions exerts a quiet, steady influence, not through words, but through the daily consistency of their actions. The Stoic chooses their companions not out of convenience or familiarity, but with careful regard for the long-term impact on their inner character. An important distinction in this philosophy is between compassion and indulgence. The Stoic does not condemn or despise those lacking in reason, but neither do they allow pity to drag them down. They may assist others, but never at the cost of their own peace of mind. Cutting ties or limiting exposure to those who drain the soul is not selfishness. It is a necessary act of self-preservation. Wisdom in choosing companions also means seeking relationships that challenge and uplift. The Stoic looks for those who push them to become better, not because these companions are perfect, but because they live with integrity, honesty, and the courage to correct missteps. Such relationships serve as mirrors, reflecting our true selves and keeping our actions aligned with our ideals. Moreover, Stoic teaching emphasizes the active creation of a healthy community. It is not enough to merely avoid toxicity. One must also cultivate connections with those who share a commitment to virtuous living. The Stoic understands that sustaining inner strength requires a nourishing ecosystem, a circle where each person is striving daily to better themselves. Ultimately, the Stoic does not allow themselves to become so entangled in any relationship that they lose their autonomy. They cherish connection, but do not allow it to cloud reason. They can love deeply while remaining alert. It is the balance between bonding and affinity, a way of relating where companionship is not an escape from loneliness, but a space for mutual growth. In sum, choosing one's companions is an essential element of the Stoic way of life. It demands mindfulness, courage, and honesty, not just toward others, but toward oneself. For the spiritual environment we inhabit daily will shape who we become, not by title, but by action, by choice, and by the true substance of our character. 7. Positive thinking without illusions. In Stoic philosophy, positive thinking is not about denying reality or evading negative emotions. It is not about deluding oneself that all is well, when clearly it is not. Rather, positive thinking is the choice to adopt a proactive, rational, and effective perspective when facing the unexpected. It is the art of seeing opportunity within adversity and maintaining composure amidst upheaval. The Stoic does not deny the existence of hardship, failure, or pain. They recognize clearly that life inevitably brings trials, loss, betrayal, illness, even death. Yet the difference lies in their response. They do not ask, "Why has this happened to me?" but rather, "What can I learn from this?" This is the core of positive thinking in Stoic philosophy. Not seeking to change what has occurred, but changing how we receive and process it. Positive thinking does not suppress negative emotions. It manages them through reason. The Stoic trains the ability to distinguish between what lies within their control and what does not. Thoughts, actions, reactions, these are theirs to govern. The opinions of others, the outcomes of events, the flux of the world, these remain beyond their grasp. By recognizing this boundary, they choose to focus attention on what can be done, rather than lament what cannot. Practicing positive thinking also means shifting attention from what is lacking to what is present. This is not blind contentment, but a deliberate appreciation of the small blessings in the here and now. The Stoic cultivates the habit of recognizing what is good even in hardship, as a way to sustain the spirit and continue acting with gratitude instead of bitterness. Another essential aspect of Stoic positive thinking is the ability to anticipate hardship without being paralyzed by it. They practice premeditatio malorum, the contemplation of potential misfortunes. This is not to live in fear, but to prepare the mind for confrontation. By foreseeing obstacles, the spirit grows stronger, no longer shattered or stunned when adversity strikes. Unlike the popular notions of positivity fueled by excitement, blind optimism, or surface-level motivation, Stoic positive thinking emerges from the depths of reason, from the capacity to judge events fairly, objectively, and calmly. It does not offer instant emotional comfort, but forges a resilient mind, unshaken by life's unpredictable shifts. Positive thinking in Stoicism is also reflected in how one chooses their inner language. How a person speaks to themselves mirrors the world within them. Instead of saying, "I have failed," the Stoic reminds themselves, "I have been given a chance to learn something new." Language is not merely expression. It is a tool to shape thought. By choosing words that are constructive and responsible, They nurture a healthy, resilient inner world. Positive thinking does not mean turning away from painful truths. The Stoic faces sadness, injustice, even death at Sifu, without losing composure. Their positivity does not stem from hoping everything will turn out well, but from the trust that they have the strength to endure, no matter what comes. In sum, positive thinking in Stoic philosophy is not a thin veneer masking reality, but a firm core that sustains reason amid chaos. It is a way of living grounded in truth, guided by values, and maintaining inner peace even as the outer world trembles. With such a mindset, one does not require perfect conditions to live well. They only need the clarity to see life rightly and the will to act accordingly. 8. Embrace change as a part of life. Everything changes. True strength is knowing how to adapt. Stoic philosophy does not promise a life of tranquility, nor does it teach us to control every factor around us. On the contrary, it begins with a fundamental truth. The world is always changing, and flux is inevitable. Change manifests everywhere, in work, health, relationships, and even within ourselves. Therefore, instead of resisting or denying it, the Stoic chooses to live in harmony with change as a natural part of life. Accepting change does not mean passive surrender. In the spirit of Stoicism, it is the active reception of reality through reason, recognizing what is happening and adapting flexibly without allowing negative emotions to take over. The Stoic believes that suffering does not come from the event itself, but from our reaction to it. When change arrives, the crucial question is not why it came, but how we choose to respond. Change can take many forms, sometimes as the end of something familiar, other times as the beginning of the unknown. In any form, it brings uncertainty. Yet the Stoic does not see uncertainty as an enemy. They learn to build an unwearying mind within an ever-shifting world, and view each change as an opportunity to cultivate inner qualities like patience, courage, and adaptability. One practice the Stoic uses is imagining misfortunes beforehand. Premeditatio malorum. By envisioning the possibility of loss, failure, or unexpected upheaval, they are no longer shocked when such things occur. Instead, they receive them with a prepared mind, not because they wish for bad things, but because they understand that nothing is permanent. Acceptance of change also means releasing attachment to things that once brought security. The Stoic understands that everything is temporary: possessions, reputation, even relationships. Nothing in the external world belongs to us forever. Therefore, they train the mind to let go, refusing to cling to what is fleeting, and instead placing trust in the virtue and reason. Those few things no one can take away. When change comes in the form of crises, such as losing a job, parting ways, illness, or even death, the Stoic does not collapse. They allow themselves to feel the pain, but do not drown in it. They ask, how can I use this event to grow? In doing so, change ceases to be the enemy and becomes a stern teacher, helping them better understand themselves and life. Beyond responding to sudden changes, the Stoic also initiates change when it aligns with reason and their values. They do not cling to comfort zones simply because they are familiar. If change is needed to live rightly, they act, even if it brings temporary instability. This proactive change is not driven by ambition, but by loyalty to the path of virtue. The mindset of accepting change also deepens the Stoic's presence in the now. Knowing nothing lasts forever, they learn to treasure each moment, not letting time slip away in regret or waiting. Impermanence does not terrify them. It inspires them to live with purpose, discipline, and gratitude. In sum, to accept change in Stoic philosophy is not weakness, it is wisdom and maturity. It is the ability to stay anchored amid life's shifting tides, to adapt without compromising principles, and to transform turbulence into inner growth. In a world of constant change, the one who adapts with reason is the strongest of all. 9. Practice gratitude daily. Be grateful each day, so no day passes meaninglessly. In Stoic philosophy, gratitude is not a fleeting emotion that arises only when life is easy, but an inner habit cultivated daily, even amid hardship, loss, or injustice. It is not blind optimism, but a deliberate way of living, choosing to focus on what we have, rather than endlessly mourning what has been lost or not yet attained. Gratitude for the Stoic is the safeguard that keeps the mind from drifting into dissatisfaction and complaint. One of the foundations of Stoic philosophy is the recognition that everything in life is temporary and can be taken away at any moment. Health, wealth, and even loved ones. Nothing is guaranteed to remain with us forever. It is precisely this fragility that highlights the value of the present. Knowing nothing is certain. Every day we wake, every breath we take, every opportunity to act is a gift that must not be taken lightly. Gratitude shifts attention away from what is missing and toward what is already present. When a person fixates only on what they lack, they easily fall into feelings of inadequacy, aimlessness, or toxic comparison. But when they spend time each day acknowledging the good, however small, they build a healthy lens for living, a foundation for calmness and resilience. The Stoic does not wait for grand achievements to feel grateful. They learn to cherish the simple, a nourishing meal, a sincere conversation, a quiet morning. They even learn to be grateful for adversity, believing that trials offer the chance to cultivate character, patience, and inner strength. In this sense, gratitude does not arise from satisfaction, but from growth through experience. Practicing daily gratitude is also treated as a mental exercise. Just as the body needs movement to stay strong, the mind needs conscious practice to remain healthy. The Stoic might begin the day by asking, "What am I grateful for today?" Or end it by recording 3 good things that happened. These simple actions, maintained with consistency, help build a durable and positive mental framework capable of withstanding life's storms. Another benefit of practicing gratitude is the enhancement of emotional control. When a person appreciates what they already have, they are less prone to anger, envy, or anxiety about the future. Gratitude becomes a spiritual anchor, returning them to the present, recalibrating their thoughts, and allowing them to respond with reason rather than impulsive emotion. Gratitude also plays a vital role in building and sustaining healthy relationships. When people consistently express appreciation, even through a simple thank you or a small act of kindness, they nurture connection and mutual respect. The Stoic does not live closed off or indifferent. They choose to live with moderation, awareness, and a deep respect for those who contribute to the richness of their life. Furthermore, gratitude strengthens patience. When facing challenges, the grateful person is less likely to fall into despair. They do not give up easily, for they remember the storms they have weathered before. Positive recollection of past endurance becomes a source of energy to continue pressing forward. In Stoic thought, gratitude is not merely a pleasant emotion. It is a way of life, a disciplined habit. It keeps the mind awake, the heart supple enough not to harden against adversity, and the spirit grounded for steady growth. Those who practice gratitude daily are not those with perfect lives, but those who know how to live fully with what they have, and from that fullness, create lives worth living. 10. Lifelong learning. Learn to understand yourself, not to outshine others. For the Stoic, Learning is not a phase with a beginning and an end, but a lifelong process. They do not see learning as a privilege confined to school years, but as a continuous responsibility for personal growth. Knowledge for the Stoic is not for the mere accumulation of facts, but for the cultivation of inner character, the refinement of living, and the strengthening of resilience in an unpredictable world. In a world constantly in flux, those who cease learning place themselves at the mercy of circumstance. Life's challenges are endlessly new. Technology, environments, relationships, and social realities are ever-changing. The Stoic does not wish for the world to slow down. They seek instead to evolve in step with it. Learning is their means of maintaining adaptability and self-command, rather than becoming a casualty of change. Learning in the Stoic spirit is not limited to reading or gathering information. It is the process of observing, reflecting, and practicing. The Stoic learns from every thesis, from failure, adversity, criticism, and even their own mistakes. They do not fear being wrong, for every error is a lesson, so long as one has the courage to confront it and extract the necessary growth. Alongside learning from personal experience, the Stoic honors the wisdom handed down from sages and predecessors. The writings of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius are not seen merely as literary artifacts, but as practical guides for living with discipline, reason, and virtue. They do not read to hoard theories, but to apply them. For the Stoic, a well-timed insight can alter behavior, and a single true idea can reshape a life. An essential aspect of continuous learning is the humility to admit one's ignorance. The Stoic never assumes they are complete. Instead, they remind themselves that what they know is but a fragment of the whole. This humility does not weaken them. It keeps them open to new knowledge and willing to change when wisdom demands it. Lifelong learning is also a way to keep the mind alive. When people stop welcoming new ideas, they risk falling into stagnation, emotionally and intellectually. The Stoic avoids the rigidity of a closed mind by constantly questioning, probing deeper, and challenging old assumptions. They do not learn to win arguments. They learn to deepen their understanding of life and of themselves. To maintain the spirit of learning, the Stoic builds concrete habits into daily life. It might be time set aside for morning reading, writing a philosophical journal at day's end, or engaging in thoughtful discussions with those who share their values. Learning is not bound by place or schedule. It happens everywhere, in conversation, in silence, in the quiet observation of others. Importantly, the Stoic does not pursue learning for fame or status. It is an inward journey to better understand oneself, and an outward journey to better understand the world, all in service of living justly and wisely. They learn to master themselves, not to master others. Learning is their tool for forging virtue, patience, courage, and purity. In Stoic thought, learning is not merely a vehicle for stockpiling knowledge, but a lifelong commitment to inner growth. It is an awakened way of living, where one never stops striving to improve, regardless of age, circumstance, or achievement. For the Stoic, understanding is never a destination. It is a path, always unfolding. We live in an age where speed and distraction have become the norm. Each day passes with hundreds of demands on our attention, dozens of things pulling us off course, and without an inner anchor, it is all too easy to drift away from what matters most, ourselves. To me, Stoic philosophy is not found in grand theories or lofty academia. It is revealed most clearly in the small daily choices: rising on time even when the bed calls, completing a task on schedule even when tired, staying calm when provoked, or simply offering thanks for a rainless morning. These seemingly minor acts, done consistently, are where Stoicism lives, not in the pages of books, but in the quiet cadence of ordinary life. I once procrastinated endlessly, always waiting for motivation to arrive, but only after training discipline like a muscle did I understand. Action leads to motivation, not the other way around. By beginning to write down my goals each morning, maintaining a gratitude practice at day's end, and accepting that some things will always lie beyond control, I gradually felt less shaken by the chaos around me. Applying Stoicism does not make life a smooth, straight road, but it does help me stand firm when the curves come. And for me, that is worth far more than any promise of an easy life. If today's reflections resonate with you, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future content. This is not just a YouTube channel. It is a space for those who seek to build silent, steadfast inner strength. And remember, life does not need to be perfect. It only asks that you live true to what you believe is right, day by day, action by action, with intention. I'll see you in the next video.